Hey, welcome to Coffee with the Coach. This is, man, we're up in our 60th. Michael, get out there and tell me how many episodes this is for us now.
Hey, 67.
67. Closing in on 70. But you know what's closing in even more importantly?
You're playing on Friday in the CFL?
No. This show's about the NFL, buddy. We are days away from the National Football League opening season. Yes, we are going to play Toronto in the back-to-back game on Friday. Beat them on Monday, beat them on Friday. It's all good, right? Anytime you can play your arch rivals, it's good. But we got a star-studded group of guests today, and how did you pull this off? How did you wrangle these two guys in here?
I text both of them, and I probably annoyed them on a very busy week. The first guy as well is very busy as well, so massively appreciate it as well for the times. Jeff, the people that are watching, comment away, and we'll get them all in at the end as well after the two guests. And I will bring them on. Yeah.
Fantastic, because I'm sure a lot of NFL fans throughout the world have a lot of questions for these guys, and we'll start with my boss, one of my many bosses, and including you, Michael, and my wife, and my boss here with the Ticats. I got a ton of bosses, but Alex Mason is our producer at Sky. He is the guy that runs the football department at Sky, and is legendary cricketer and cricket. We stole him from cricket, actually. No, don't. There's no lie in that. That's all truth. We stole you from the cricket department.
You stole me from cricket, but legendary cricketer is a lie. So I just need to clear that up on the airwaves. I don't want people coming at me for that one.
No, but you know what? Even if it's just local cricket, you can be a legend. You can be a legend even in your own mind, and it's all good, mate.
Still not a legend locally. But thank you for that wonderful intro. Appreciate that. Nice to get my tires pumped.
All right, man. Let's get to it. We're days away, and obviously now, this being a new season, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot to get excited about what's going on with Sky and its dedicated NFL channel. So hit me with what you perceive as going to be the biggest upgrade, the biggest thing that a fan who's a Sky subscriber will notice, and why somebody who's not a Sky subscriber should become one.
Yeah, well, two things really. Firstly, the caliber of guest. Something you'll know from being part of the team since I arrived. You're obviously a veteran, one of the greybeards, and I'm still relatively
easy now, bro. Easy.
Oh no, sorry, I'm the one with the grey beard from working with you and the guys. Yeah, sorry. It's the caliber of guest really. So year on year, we look to improve the contributors we have into the show, and that's really born out of an attitude that's pervasive in the department, which is twofold really. What's next? And if you don't ask, you don't get, right? So we're all of the opinion now that, yes, we are UK based. Yes, we're minor compared to the US broadcasters, but if we see someone we like on Twitter, you can slide into their DMs and ask them whether they want to be part of the UK broadcast, and the worst you're going to get is someone saying, thank you very much for thinking of me. But no, we had conversations with Dan Orlovsky before Dan landed on ESPN. We tried to approach Mina Kynes to get her to work with us this year. And there was thanks so much for thinking of me. But no was the thing. But from those conversations, we've ended up getting another brilliant pundit from the company and the agency that represent Mina Kynes. So, us getting out there and our reputation growing, people having a good time coming over and working with us. Will Blackman, Coach Ryan, who you know very well, he said that lots of people have checked in with him. And there's just more of a kind of link between us and NFL Network. And because we're part of the NBC family, I think our name resonates a bit more. So what we've decided to do this year is to focus more on high caliber remote guests. So our studio presentation, you'll see, we'll have Neil Reynolds plus 2 guests for the first couple of weeks, but then we'll come down to Neil Reynolds plus 1 guest. And then we've got a brand new studio, which is the other thing you need to look out for, which looks amazing. And I'm certain you're going to have a great time when you come over and you get to play in there. But the basis of the new studio is more floor space for us to do demos and a huge video wall that's incredibly versatile, as you saw when you were a contributor on NFL 32 Live last Thursday. So we can have multiple guests coming in via Skype, via a broadcast version of Skype or Zoom, similar to what we're working on now. We use a program called vMix at Sky, which is very user friendly and looks great. We have the ability to add our own look and feel to it. So, our build up this year is going to contain some contributions from our friends at Football Night in America. So our opening Sunday, we're going to have Will Blackman and Sean Gale in studio. Nora Princiotti is the new female contributor for us. She was a former beat writer for the Patriots and works on the excellent NFL podcast for The Ringer. She's going to be a brilliant broadcaster for us and add real value. And then I'm delighted to say that Coach Dungy is going to join us from Football Night in America for the last 10 minutes of the show. And I'm currently in discussion with Ray Lewis's people to see if we can get Ray on to join us for a bit for Sunday. So if that doesn't wet your whistle for the NFL, I don't quite know what will. That's not a bad start to the show. If we get Coach Dungy and Ray Lewis on, we're starting off strong, I reckon.
Well, that's star power right there, man. And you talk about two really knowledgeable football guys. Ray brings incredible passion to the broadcast, and Coach Dungy is really, as intelligent and well-spoken football guy as you're going to run across. So I think that's awesome. That studio absolutely floored me when we did NFL All 32 the other. Christ, Neil could run a 40-yard dash in that thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's massive, man. The floor space is enormous. Like, and Jeff, for the viewers to this program, the studio we were in last year was half the size, like literally half the size. So we've got a lot of room to play with. We're very lucky with how things shook out at Sky. As to how we came to get this bespoke dedicated space, but I'm very thankful for it. And I think it shows Sky's level of commitment and trust in the NFL that we have been given this space, and I've been charged with delivering and utilizing it to the max.
Well, I'm going to pump your tires again because I know how business works, and I know how the football business works. You know how the television business works way better than me, but I do got a feel for it after all these years that if you don't produce, they're both high performance industries. They're both production oriented businesses. And if you don't produce, you don't get. And when you produce, you get so that you can produce more. And I think that's what Sky has said by their commitment to the game, to the broadcast, to, putting a tremendous product on TV every week for the viewers. And, Mace, I think a lot of that, it really, frankly, goes to your stewardship. And I'm not doing anything but telling the truth when I say that. You got to clear something up now.
Okay.
This is, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but one of the questions we get all the time from listeners and viewers is, who picks the games and how do you pick the games?
Jeez. Oh man. So look, I'll be really candid with you. Okay. The fact that we can choose whatever game we want at the 6 o'clock window and the 9:25 window, theoretically, that's a really good thing. But it turns out that you can't please all the people all the time. So you should see the comment section of Sky Sports NFL Twitter feed when we announce the game. It blows up, and you get one guy like, can't believe you're always showing the Steelers, and you get another guy going, yay, the Steelers are on. So look, you can't win. I'll be really candid with you, right? And I'll pull back the curtain a little bit and be frank with everybody watching. The game selection process is a combination of certain people at Sky, myself, Neil Reynolds, someone relatively high up in the strategic area, and then we do it in concert with NFL UK. So I'll write a wish list of the games that we think are going to be the most compelling and interesting on the Friday before the games take place on the Sunday. And then we'll revisit that conversation on the Monday and decide what we want to go with. So the bottom line is we try and pick what we think will be the most entertaining game in both of those windows. Now, obviously, it's problematic if we think the better game is going to be a 9:05 kickoff, because then you miss the end of game one or the start of game two. So we try and avoid that where we can. But it is honestly as simple as 4 or 5 people who are NFL fans have a discussion and leave their bias and fandom at the door and try and select the game that we think is going to be the most entertaining and has the most editorial or the most storylines, to put it in layman's terms, for us to dig our teeth into. It's as simple as that. It may not look like that from the outside looking in, but I can assure you that's how it works.
Thank you, please, for putting that to bed, because I've seen how it's done, right? And I know that the Titans don't get on TV because you're a Titans fan, or the Dolphins get on TV because Neil's a Dolphins fan. It's because what you feel is best for the overall viewership, the most interesting games, the whole deal. What's coming down the pike with the London games? What are you guys going to do around the London games? Are you going to do some live stuff? Are you going to be there live? How's it going to work this year?
Yes, so we are going to cover, there's 2 games in London this year, which is a kind of a slow relaunch of where the NFL wants to get to, which I believe is 4 games over here annually. But with the COVID world and the travel stuff, I think they eased themselves back in with the 2 games, both at the Tottenham Stadium. So we're doing the first of the 2, the Jets Falcons. And what we'll do a studio presentation from there, and we'll do what we always do, which is to show that early game live, and then we'll say in situ in the studio and do the 6 o'clock and 9:25 game. So for those wondering whether that's an enjoyable day for those that work on it broadcast wise, kind of. When you get to 9:30, 10 o'clock and you're the only person in the studio, you're like, what? You're in the stadium. You're like, wow, they're going to ask us to turn the floodlights off on the way out. So it feels like we're literally the only people in the stadium. But yeah, so plans are to host from the Spurs Stadium. We're unsure whether we're going to be in studio or on the sideline next to the Sky Cart. We are trying very, very hard to get a cast iron commitment from either team to bring a player over to us to do a post-match interview at the Sky Cart, which has proven nigh on impossible in previous years. But we do have another avenue that I'm not at liberty to discuss here, but there's another avenue we can pursue for that. And then if we get a guarantee that we'll get someone there, we'll probably be sidelined for that and go to the studios for the other games. If not, we'll probably stay in the studio. It's got a great backdrop. And then in terms of what we do ahead of the game for the build-up, very much depends what schedules the teams are on. I think the Falcons and the Jets are on short weeks, so I think they're landing Friday morning. So train Friday, walk through Saturday, play Sunday, fly home Monday. I think maybe the Dolphins, from what I'm hearing, might be on a slightly longer week the following week before they take on the Jags. So we might look to do something at Dolphins training sessions the week after. But we are a little bit beholden to the teams, and we're still unsure of access because of COVID. Like, let's not forget the pandemic hasn't disappeared. So that needs to be taken into consideration all the time by everyone in everything we do still. And that's an important message we have to keep driving home at Sky. You know, we need to be careful. We need to operate in the same way. We need to adhere to the protocols that are in place. You know, the last thing I want for any of my team at all, obviously, is to contract COVID. But, you know, it would be an unmitigated disaster if we all went to the pub for a pre-NFL season drink up on Saturday night and all came down with COVID and couldn't make the show on Sunday. So we need to be careful around that kind of stuff as best we can.
Hey, give me as much of a picture, if you can, or give the viewers and listeners as much of a picture as you can about what you see or what the potential long game is for Sky and the NFL.
That's a really interesting question. I mean, I can tell you now that the channel and the deal that we struck with them involves more original content over the next few years of the contract. And that's very much in line with our ambitions for what we want to do with NFL. As I mentioned at the start of this podcast, what's next is one of the key mantras, right? So the ambition to get out to training camps, to get time with players in the next off season is there. I was fortunate enough to work on some of the cricket masterclasses before I left cricket to come to NFL. And that involved getting a legend of the game and doing a blend of a sit-down interview with them and then doing a kind of demonstration in the nets so they could talk you through their skill set. And I just think if we could get time with Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Tom Brady and do a day on the practice field with them and then do a 3-hour sit-down interview with them the next day, you could turn that into incredible content that would go on the channel and would really work for any level of NFL fan, from the absolute beginner who doesn't know anything about it apart from who Tom Brady is, to someone that's been a fan as long as I have and has got a grey beard like me. So, you know, you've got those elements in there. And then another thing that we managed to procure this season was, again, in conjunction with NFL UK, a lot of the American teams make their own in-house documentaries. So right. I stumbled across one on YouTube 2 years ago, I think, called The Franchise, which was made by the Chiefs about the Chiefs Super Bowl winning season. I was like, how on earth are we going to get that? You know, who do we speak to? And then it transpires that the guys at NFL UK had a contact to the team liaison at NFL. They reached out to some teams and said, look, Sky Sports would really like this content. What are your thoughts? And then a few teams put their hands up, and the Buccaneers gave us their series from last year. So we showed it all last Sunday. We had to do some remedial work to it, which is boring, and I won't tell the viewers what that was, but a minimal amount of work, and we got a brand new, never seen before unless you're a hardcore Bucks fan and checked it out on YouTube, documentary, which, not a million miles away from the Amazon Prime All or Nothing level of broadcast. So, if more teams have got that, and if teams are listening to this and you want to give us some content, we've got a channel. Lob it my way and we'll put it on there, pal.
Listen, my man is always...
Week, brother. I need content.
24 seconds, 24/7, always working. I love it, Mace. All right, now, personal note.
Yep.
Does that great, big, beautiful screen in that great, big, beautiful studio, can you telestrate on that thing?
No, you cannot. Jeffrey.
Oh, Mace, I would have slept there overnight. I swear.
I know, brother. There is a touchscreen, but it is just a little chip shop old thing in the corner comparatively. So this will make you laugh. When we walked in to the studio to have a rehearsal, I was like, whoa, that video wall looks good. And we had like the holding slates of the two team logos in there. And then I said to the guys, where are we going to do where are the live contributors going to be in? Like, what in that screen? And they were like, no, it's that, see that little monitor over there in the corner? I was like, nah, mate, they need to go in the video wall. Let's make that work. And it all went kind of silent. I was like, cool. I do content, you do technology, you make that work for me, lads. And they came through. Do you know what I mean? We had a brilliant vision mixer, Eve Ray, who I'll give a shout out here. She's sensational. And we were like, look, can we get contributors into that wall? And then she turned around 20 minutes later. She's like, yeah, here's 3 of them in a row. Here's one on one side, the badge on the other. Here's 2 of them. And then, as you know, we mucked about last Thursday. Neil managed to insult both you and Baldy in one sentence, which is a real highlight of my show. He described himself as a rose between 2 thorns.
That's it.
Classic. So, look, I'm just dead excited, mate. It's I was saying earlier on, we're just fans. The bottom line is, right, we're fans. So once we get the pre-game show right, which is talking about what everybody else is talking about down the pub, I'm not going to tip my hat by saying that whatever you guys that are watching here are talking about is pretty much what we're going to talk about, but it's our job to talk about it from a really kind of high level of intricacy, and then maybe explain some stuff that you guys wouldn't necessarily know the answers to. But when we get into the game, we're fans. Yeah. We're waiting on good things happening. And one of the best shows I worked on was the ridiculous Chiefs comeback against the Texans in the playoffs. We're all jumping up and down like Fruit Loops in the gallery, and you lot are going mad in the studio. And I'm getting a message from the head of Sky Sports. Oh, this is really good. This is brilliant. You've got the right vibe in the studio. And it's like, mate, we're fans. We're jumping around because it's amazing. Of course, we're going to convey that. So, it is ultimately the strength of our broadcast, and the enjoyability factor comes down to what happens on the pitch, because you and I and Neil can put together the best pre-game show of the history of pre-game shows. But if you get the Super Bowl like the Rams Patriots, which is an absolute dog, no one's going to remember that. Do you know what I mean? I remember that entire week, and we're blessed to spend Super Bowl week in the Super Bowl city. I remember 2 things from that. I remember Tony Romo illustrating the fact that the Rams punted 6 times in a row, and I got mugged for a packet of Cheetos in a petrol station outside the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then the guy that nicked my Cheetos opened them and offered me a Cheeto. He was like, yo, do you want a crisp, bro? I was like, they're kind of mine, but I don't want you to kill me over some Cheetos, so do what you want, brother. But the game was terrible, right? And you can put all the work you want to into a pre-game show, but if it's 3-0 and an absolute slogfest, then, one for the purists maybe, but there aren't many of them knocking about or staying up until 4 a.m. on Super Bowl Sunday. Do you know what I mean?
No. And, I think, Mace, that really comes through. And I thank you so much for coming and visiting with us today, and keep doing what you're doing, because, my passion is seeing the game grow, and there's no better medium for that to happen than television. And you put the game out there in a way that obviously, and it's so amazing to me how much the fans have learned and gotten more sophisticated over the 10 years, I guess it's been, that we've done it. And we just continue to drive there's a place for the new fan, but there's also a place in our show, I think, for the knowledgeable fan that wants more and wants more technical and wants more. And again, I got to salute you because you've taken that show a long way in the 4 years you've run it.
Well, thank you, Jeff. That means a lot from you. But what I will say, and without wanting to, turn this into a session where we tell one another how much we love one another, but when I came on board and I didn't know anyone, right, and there was an element that you guys had to kind of figure out who I was and figure out whether I knew what I was talking about. Your enthusiasm and passion from the game made my job easy, right? And for those of you wondering at home how broadcasts get made, what you want is someone like Jeff, who is absolutely burning to explain things to people because they love the game so much. And my job as a producer is not to tell Jeff what to talk about. It's his job to tell me what he wants to talk about, and then I facilitate that request. So I find the footage to help him illustrate the point he wants to make. And that's the same in Premier League football. That's the same in international cricket. That's the same in our golf coverage. That is the best way, in my humble opinion. What do I know really? But having worked in the industry for 20 odd years, the producer isn't telling the talent what to talk about. The talent is telling the producer what they want to talk about. And it's the producer's job to make sure that works for all the viewers on every level. And you give the talent the best tools to make the best broadcaster. And then you sit back and, I'm a viewer. When I'm watching Jeff doing his touchscreen stuff, I'm a viewer. Am I terrified that he's going to draw a really unfortunate phallic symbol on the touchscreen one day? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. That's a running joke it's like, oh my God, that could be bad. Don't put a loop there. But, we trust him and we have a great time. And, what you see, and this is the ultimate compliment I can pay to Jeff, right? What you see is what you get. What you see and hear in this interaction with people, how well liked he is and the man he is and how he carries himself, that's how he is. And for me, there's no better compliment than that, because I've met loads of people that have a different on-screen and off-screen persona, and that can be disappointing.
Well, man, let's get to it. Last question. The last question is maybe the one I should ask first. Can the Titans make a Super Bowl run?
Well, okay, so two things here. Going back to you saying that the games we choose aren't to do with fandom. I hope you remember when it was the Chiefs-Titans AFC Championship game a couple of years ago. I was a Chiefs fan because they didn't want the Titans to beat the Chiefs and then play weird smash mouth football, give it to Derrick Henry and kind of lob one up in the air on third down. I wanted the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl. So to your question, can we make the Super Bowl? There are some questions to answer now that Arthur Smith has left. So the new offensive coordinator needs to figure out whether they can remain as efficient as they were. Let's not forget, running it with Derrick Henry and then putting off a 40-yard completion with a play action pass feels like a relatively finite route to success week in, week out. Now, we've added Julio Jones, but we have let some talent walk out the door. I wasn't mad keen on Jonnu Smith walking or Corey Davis walking, if I'm honest. And what have we done with the defense? Well, Jack Rabbit, is he much of an improvement on Malcolm Butler? Well, Malcolm Butler's retired, so at least he's still playing. I suppose that's one thing you can say. He's still going to put his pads
He's
on.
alive.
He's still playing. I mean, I've got a feeling that for the Titans to make a concerted run, they're going to have to be on the right side of shootouts week in, week out. And you and I know, because Sean Gale has told us 100,000
constantly
times.
Reminds us.
Yeah, I ain't going to say it. I ain't going to give him any love. I am. Defense wins championships, right? Let's be really candid. And I don't think the Titans have enough horses in the stable on that side of the ball. I think for all of the problems we're going to cause with Derrick Henry and then how do you deal with AJ Brown and Julio Jones, it's the fact that, okay, the Titans can score, but we're just going to run it down their throats, or, we're going to burn their slot corner again. So, yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know. It's just a really wide open season, isn't it? Which is the great thing. And I'll say this lastly before I go. I know you've got other people that want to come on, but I find it really interesting, the difference between the mindset of NFL teams and the mindset of Premier League football teams over here, right? So you ask the big managers of, are you going to win the Premier League? And Thomas Tuchel's like, oh, Champions League is good for us. And Pep Guardiola's like, oh, yeah, just being in and around the top four is fine. And Jurgen Klopp's like, oh, yeah, Champions League. And you're like, come on, lads, you should be saying that you're winning the league. You go to an NFL team, right?
Yep, all 32 of them. All
32. This is our year. Absolutely no hesitation. We visited with the Browns the year after they went 0-16, and I sat opposite Joe Thomas, the legendary left tackle. Joe, what do you think is going to happen this year? We're going to surprise a few people. We might make it to the big show. And I'm there like, so I've got a really bad habit of screwing up my face when someone says something quite stupid, called the mace face at work. And I'm certain he said that. I was like, oh no, I better not insult Joe Thomas, who's 6'9" and 400 pounds. But they were genuine in their belief that they thought they were going to win, having not won a single game the year before. And that makes my job kind of hard, because if they have that absolute belief all the time, who do you write off? Because it's me or you or Neil or someone making an arbitrary decision that, you know, the Bengals aren't going to do it this year. Because if you speak to Joe Burrow, he's like, yeah, I'll be MVP and Jamar Chase is going to kill it. Yeah, not a problem. I don't need an offensive line. I've got another knee. I only broke one of them last year. You know what I mean? It's mad. So, yeah, who knows, Jeff? Who do you think is going to make it, Jeffrey?
I tell you, to me, you still got to go through Kansas City. And, you know, again, could it be Kansas City, Tampa Bay again? I don't see why it couldn't. I mean, I just really think the AFC is a better conference top to bottom. But, you know, when you have a team as good as the Patriots, or excuse me, as good as the Bucs were at the end of the season, and they've added to a roster and kept the critical guys, you know, obviously it's a long season. A lot of that's got to happen, but I'd say those two have as good a shot as anybody right now. Yeah,
and lastly, I think that one of the beauty of the NFL, I know we had a bit of a dynasty with the Patriots, and it looks like we might have a dynasty with the Chiefs, but I really want another team to come out of nowhere. I want another 2 new team Super Bowl. You know, the Chiefs 49ers, what a wicked experience that was. You know, the faithful for the 49ers and Chiefs Kingdom, they went nuts in Miami for that. Yeah. And I'll be honest, the Patriots and the Rams fans, the Patriots fans in Atlanta were like, what's this?
How many times have we done this? This is getting old.
We'll probably win with a last-minute field goal. It's so boring to lift the Lombardi. Like, forget you. Let's get some new teams in there. Let's get the Bills back in there. Let's get Bills Mafia to the Super Bowl. I'm all about that.
Ooh, Mace, that would be a great one no matter where it is.
Can you imagine? There'd be no tables left unbroken in LA if they made it there. That'd be fantastic.
Hey, man, it was great catching up with you.
Pleasure.
Good luck on the show this weekend. I'll be watching. And this is the lineup for this weekend on Sky Sports.
No, don't show me that, Jeff. I'm tired already just looking at it. Look how many games there are.
That's it, baby. More football, more better, as they say back home in Hawaii. That's Alex Mason, the producer of the dedicated NFL channel from Sky Sports. Alex, thanks so much for coming on the show. And as always, all right, my brother, take care.
All right. See you soon. Bye, everyone. Cheers.
Hey, Mike, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a good season. It is going to be a great season on Sky. And if you aren't a Sky subscriber, that tongue twister there. If you don't subscribe to Sky, you should, because you're going to get great content all through the National Football League season.
Yes, sir. I didn't mean to cut Alex off mid-cheers there, but I keep doing that. For some reason, I keep cutting people off. Sorry for the background. I just, for Wi-Fi purposes, I had to go down here. That was a really good interview. Not just for his experience working with Sky, but also just hearing how it works behind the scenes. That new studio looks class. And that rose between, was it 2-4 in his comments? Was
easy now. Neil, that was a cheap shot. That was a cheap shot by Neil. But just remember, I remember, and I'll get even before it's over. Hey, you know, as we sit here and we are, I guess, 2 days out, really, because Thursday night is the first game. I can't really remember a time recently when there have been so many talented young quarterbacks in this league. And you look around the league, and yes, there are some guys. There's the Tom Brady's and, you know, Aaron Rodgers of the world, guys that are on the back end of or the back quarter of their career, if you will. But hey, man, I'm just telling you, there are so many good young quarterbacks playing in this game right now. I think this is going to be a great year to be a fan, especially if you're a fan of offensive football.
I can't wait for this season. And I think you say that every year, but this really is a season to go on with. And yeah, like just even a selection of games. So you're talking about young quarterbacks. And Neil Randall said it to us last night, just seeing the potential in Josh Allen this year. I think it could be the year in Buffalo, Jeffrey. Could be.
I tell you what, I just don't know. And the question I'm going to have about the Buffalo team, right, is can they run the ball good enough? Because they're going to have to at some point run the ball well enough. And can they rush the passer good enough on defense? Those are the two areas. But certainly, you look at that team as loaded, great quarterback that's really now starting to play, starting to get into the real prime of his career. A ton of depth at receiver. They are really a good football team.
Obviously, Josh Allen was on the cover of Gridiron Magazine's big season preview. We've got a guy from Gridiron here now, Will Gavin. I presume we'll just bring him on, Jeff. Yeah, bring him on.
Let's bring him in. Bring in Big Will.
That was professional level introduction and crossing over from Mike. Look at that. Absolutely.
Well, I want you to know, fans out there are two in football guys that you would bring on and they could live up to the moniker of Big Red. And there's only two. There's only two, ladies and gentlemen. And one of them is Andy Reid, and the other one is our guest right here, Will Gavin. My man, how are you doing?
Brother, it's so good to see you. I'm great, my friend. I am really, really well. I went for the Hawaiian just for you. It's been the weather for it, to be fair, the last couple of days. It's awesome to see you, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing great. What is going on at TalkSport? Have you started cranking up the NFL machine?
Do I give Jeff Reinebold an exclusive?
Yes,
that's the question.
Please, you better.
Do I give Jeff? Right, look, there's still some kinks being worked out. We're still figuring out the machine. I can't tell you more than this at the moment, but I can confirm that 5 p.m. this Sunday evening, there will be our Red Zone on the Radio show returning to TalkSport 2. If you can't be in front of a TV watching Sky, if you're in your car, if you're going to be on the road, if you're going to be, at work and you need to be keeping up to date with everything that's happening across the board, guys like myself, like Nat Coombs, like Matt Sherry, the guys who are often involved in that show, will be bringing you live radio coverage every Sunday evening on TalkSport. So there you go. It's happening, Jeff.
That is awesome. That is huge news, because obviously there's a huge proportion of NFL fans that, as you said, whether that's because they're mobile or whatever, that would choose to get their NFL by radio. And now here's an opportunity for you guys to keep them updated on scores and what's going on around the league on a like almost on real-time basis on Sunday night. And I think that is absolutely fantastic.
The real joy of it is that it's exactly that. We all know that if you've got Game Pass, if you've got Sky Sports NFL, and I loved hearing from Mason. I had Mike messaging me going, I'm sorry, Jeff loves to talk. We'll be with you in a minute. Don't worry. I was like, no, I'm enjoying it. I'm sitting here. I'm listening to Mace, exchanging war stories. I've been there. I know what it's like. And it was great hearing from him. But you've got that red button. You've got Red Zone to be able to watch back, and you still you want it live. And following it on social media is not enough. And actually just hearing passionate guys talking about it, getting excited about it. We get on a lot of guys from like the podcast networks and from like the fan clubs and stuff. And it, Jeff, the knowledge base in the UK is insanely high. Like, no offense to our American brethren, but I would say the average NFL fan in the UK has just that unbelievable level of knowledge. And so the people we get on and the people we get listening absolutely love it, get into it. And the off season is the longest off season in all of sport. And yes, I feel like this has crept up on me this year, Jeff. Well, honestly, 2 days.
I know, it's unbelievable. And you made a comment, and I'm going to back this up with my own personal opinion, that a passionate NFL fan in the UK is every bit as knowledgeable about the game, the draft, the rosters, all of it, as any passionate fan in the United States. I think that is where the game has changed. The dynamic has changed. I mean, it's unbelievable how much it's gone in the direction of really like the questions you get, the information that people want access to, the knowledge of the game. All of that has increased diametrically in the last 10 years. It's incredible, I think.
Yeah, and what you guys do at Sky, and it does feel like, I guess because we're 2 days out from the season, we're all so excited. This show has felt like a big old loving. We haven't decided it's the same as it is in the NFL anytime. Like Mace was saying, everyone right now is on that high. Everyone right now is full of optimism. But with what you guys do, with what NFL UK have done, getting the games over here, with the coverage that happens across the board, you can't help but see a difference. I remember first starting at TalkSport only 8-9 years ago, and Ollie Hunter, who I do my podcast with and who works on the radio show at TalkSport. He and I were like, we kind of magnetically drew together because we were basically the only guys in the office who liked the NFL. Now we're struggling. We're having to, almost do 2 fantasy leagues because there's so many people at TalkSport that are into it, that want to get involved, that want to be like, who and they're knowledgeable as well. I remember our football editor about 2 years ago came up to me and was like, I'm looking for some fantasy advice. And I assumed, because he's our football editor, he was talking about Fantasy Premier League. And I was like, oh, mate, I don't really play Fantasy Premier League. I can't get on board with it. I struggle with it. But he said, no. I need to know if Alvin Kamara's out this weekend. Does that mean Michael Thomas is going to see more work? And I was like,
yes. Hey, here's
happening. It's happening.
In coaching, you always look for what we call confirmation of validity of the things you teach. Well, listen to this. Gazdy72 just sent a tweet to the show. He said, awesome news to hear that us shift workers can now have NFL on the radio at work this season. So you already got one more viewer, man, just by coming on the show, and a listener, and just for coming on the show. And I think that's absolutely awesome. I didn't think about that. All the shift workers, everybody that is not working a night shift or whatever, here's an opportunity for you to stay with the game. Owen Thomas says loves a bit of Red Zone Radio. You got a dedicated fan base because they're hitting our show and talking about it. Take me back now to Matthew Sherry, who's a good friend of both of us, and is how you guys really, the genesis and the birth of Gridiron, how that came to be, and just what a success story that is.
I'd love to pretend like I was in Gridiron on the ground floor, Jeff. I'd love to pretend that Matthew Sherry wasn't the be all end all, the absolute don, and guys like Liam, who's now the editor, Liam Blackburn. Now Matthew's taken on a bit more of an upstairs role, as it were. If you think in football terms, he's been kicked into the front office. He's no longer in a coaching role. Guys like Simon Clancy, their features writer, who does a lot of the college stuff as well. Those guys have been there literally from day one. I remember the first time I met Matt was the summer of I think it was 2013. It was the year before the Steelers came over and played the Vikings at Wembley. An unbelievable game as well. Steelers had a chance to, both teams came in 0-4. Everyone in the NFL saying, we're sending rubbish teams over to London again. It's not going to work. And it ended up being a sensational game of football. In the summer, Big Ben comes over to do basically the cheesiest photo shoot of all time, which is Big Ben visits Big Ben. Yeah, exactly. And so we get invited along, like a bunch of us, like Simon Cross and the guys at the BBC and a few guys from Sky, and I'm there and Matt's there, and Matt kind of comes up and starts chatting to me, and we're just chatting back and forth, and he goes, I'm going to launch an NFL magazine. And I had to bite my tongue from being like, print media is dead, right? That no one buys magazines anymore. That's not surely that but I loved his passion. I loved how direct he was. I loved how excited he was about it. And you felt like if anyone was going to pull it off, it was this guy. But I tell him all the time, I didn't think it was going to work. 8 years later, 7 years later, whatever it is, they've got an amazing subscriber base. They've got, they have involvement in so many other projects that they do now. They've got a whole podcast network that they do with stuff like The Good, the Bad, and the Rugby and stuff like that. Like Matt Sherry has created a media empire and he's barely in his 30s. I think it all comes from seeing a hole in the market for something that's really good quality for NFL fans that they can really sink their teeth into. But actually just having passion and drive and want to do it. And I didn't want to come on here and just sit here praising Matt Sherry, but I normally like to do that about myself, Jeff, as you know. But what happened was I saw that a couple of years later, it started to look like a good thing, and I latched on, obviously. I love riding a coattail. So I've been involved for the last 4 or 5 years. I don't write a lot because if you've ever had to edit any of my work and saw the quality of my grammar, you'd know that you don't want me writing anything. But I do the podcast. I do a lot of the video stuff. We do the Super Bowl and Radio Row and all that with Gridiron. And they're great guys. Matt's actually this Sunday, depending on how we do the show this Sunday, because last year during the pandemic, Nat was in the studio and I was in my house in my pajamas watching it on the big screen just with this setup that I've got here and getting to do radio from there. Matt is down in London this weekend and might come and do the show in my front room with me while we watch the games.
Oh man, I'll tell you that would be priceless.
It's going to be fantastic if we can pull it off. But it might get a bit messy by the end of the late game on Sunday. Not needless to mention the doubleheader on Monday. Christ.
All right, now I have been on Radio Row. Shit, I don't know how many times. But a bunch of times, and I remember the first time you guys invaded Radio Row, and it was a sight. I remember sitting on our little stage that we had for Inside the Huddle, and I'm looking out, and there are these 4 English guys, and you're having more fun than anybody else in the whole show. I mean, there's 300 people from all around the world, media in there doing shows and broadcast, podcast, and TV, and every other kind of media. And you guys took the place by storm. And I mean, you were grabbing guests left and right. And I'm not talking about just guests. I'm talking about you were getting hitters. And I watched it and I said to myself, those guys have it. They got it. This thing is going to be a huge success.
It's the best week of the year. Like, I love the draft. I love the opening week of the season, divisional round weekend. There's so many great weeks in the NFL, but that week of getting to descend on whatever city we are in America that week and getting to hang out with a bunch of people that cover the NFL for a living and can talk football and who all get excited because we're British guys talking about football. And that's what I always find, like when we do stuff with guys like Coach Billick and get like a lot of the kind of X's and O's guys on and stuff. And they love talking to people who know about football but aren't from America. Like they all get really into it. And it's kind of a little bit of the secret is that you can kind of push and take the mick a little bit. You can kind of ask for a bit more than you're meant to ask for. You can kind of like, you know, we've made some really good friends out there, but you can always be like, I'm going to go and try and push for an interview with Baker Mayfield, which no one else is going and doing because he's sitting waiting to go on CBS. But if I get told to F off, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm British. I just didn't realize. I thought it was okay to come and ask him. And I go as Hugh Grant as humanly possible. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I want to. But you'd be amazed how many times it works. How many times you can sneak into the wrong bit of the stadium. How many times you can get in the locker rooms a little early. The year that Tom Brady's jersey went missing and the first report came out and everyone was like,
you were suspects. You were all suspects. Man, I want you guys to know that.
It was a member of international media was the first report that came out and my phone blew up. We were in the middle of recording a podcast in a bar, having a great time, and my phone just starts going nuts. I was like, what is going on? Pick it up, and it's just a bunch of messages going, did you steal Tom Brady's jersey? Turns out that the photos of when the guy was floating around and people saw it, you can see me, you can see Liam, you can see Sherry in that photo. At that point, I'm getting soaked in champagne by Chris Long, who's pouring it all over the defensive lineman. So I didn't steal the jersey, but yeah, we were suspects quite quickly because people, I think, have cottoned on to our little bit of bullshit. Just a little bit.
Okay, so now you are a football guy. And you are a guy who I respect your football knowledge. Let's talk about this season. What are I won't go down the road of who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl, but who are the teams that you like going into this season?
The teams that I like is probably the wrong phrase for it. And anyone that's followed our podcast, the radio show, anything over the years is going to be astonished by the first answer to this. But I'm really excited to watch the New England Patriots. Like, as much as they had the down year and a lot of people are talking about the Bills and how fantastic they look, the guys that they are returning on the defensive side of the ball, getting a guy like Matt Judon, who is as a Bill Belichick-ready defender as I've seen anywhere in the NFL, to get Dante Hightower back, to get Kyle Van Noy back, to get that secondary back together with so many of the pieces that were missing last year, to maybe have the best slot corner in the NFL, and then Mac Jones to have probably the best rookie preseason out of anyone. I know it's only preseason, and hey, I'm hyped to see Trey Lance in San Francisco, and I'm hyped to see what Justin Fields can do. But yeah, I kind of feel like they're going to be on a bit of a a comeback tour. They're going to have heard all those people who came after them last year for having a losing record and for missing out on the playoffs for the first time in 20 years or whatever it was. And I think that's going to be surprisingly fun in New England, even if we're sick of it again by the end of the year. And I just hope Bill can have a bit of fun with it as well, because...
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I think there's a lot of credence to what you say, because you look at the opt-outs that are coming back. You look at, the guys that they brought back in free agency, the guys they went out and got in free agency. They put weapons around a young quarterback. McDaniels is always going to do a great job. I think maybe last year, as crazy as it sounds, a 7-9 team, maybe one of the best coaching jobs that Belichick has ever done. To coax 7 wins out of that football team was incredible.
I've got him as my coach of the year this year. I think that they'll have a comeback season, a winning season. I also think their offensive line, it's up there. I'm not sure about what they've got in the running game. There's a lot of excitement about Damian Harris, and obviously there's a lot of experience behind him in James White and Brandon Bolden, but I think they've got a brilliant run blocking line. Michael Onwenu was unbelievable last year, coming in and essentially playing every position on that offensive line. Now he's going to get to go and play where he's comfortable while they get bookended by actual starting tackles. I think there's a lot to get excited about by that team. It's just, Mac Jones in that offense. There was all that talk about, him going to San Francisco at 3, and is that a reach? And, should they have moved all the way up just to get a player like Mac Jones, who is a functional player but isn't necessarily going to set the world alight? Well, I mean, in that New England offense, that might be all he needs to be. And Josh McDaniels, I don't think that Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick, regardless of what's happening with the COVID and everything else, not just take Cam Newton out of that team, but just get rid of him entirely and trust the offense to a rookie unless they legitimately believe it's the right decision. And the prime example is they didn't put Tom Brady in, did they? They took him back out again initially. So I think really Mac Jones is primed and set up to have it good there.
You know what?
I'm getting angry thinking about it already. I like it, but already I'm annoyed now.
But you know what, though? That division, which for so long has been really a one-horse race, has a chance to be, I think, a really, really interesting division, because obviously Miami is way better. I think Buffalo has huge expectations. People think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. New England will be so much better. I agree with you 100%. And I think the Jets are going to show some traction this year too, with that young quarterback. This is a time, and I cannot remember, and I'm serious. I went through this a little bit in my brain today. Well, I can't remember when the league has had this many exciting young players in it, particularly at the quarterback position.
On that division first, I like, I'm excited to see Zach Wilson. I'm excited to see what he does. I am concerned on the other side of it about what their line ends up looking like, and the losses they've had on defense already at this point. You've got a feel for Robert Saleh. You've got a feel for the guys there that are going to be running that defense, because they haven't had a decent pass rush in a very, very long time. And they go and get Carl Lawson, who was a really underrated signing this summer, and he gets done for the year. It's absolutely gutting for them. I think the reason I love that division is because I love the coaching, is because I think across the board, you've got 4 really exciting coaches there. Obviously, Bill Belichick, but I think all 4 of them have the potential with the right job this year to be kind of coach of the year level candidates. And that's what I'm excited to see. But you're absolutely right. I was doing there's like an NFL Writers Association. I was doing their fantasy league earlier today. And I ended up with my quarterbacks as I got Joe Burrow right at the end of the draft as like a backup, as my kind of as my flyer, as my guy that he could come back from that injury and be absolutely superb. And earlier in the draft, I took Justin Herbert, and those quarterbacks last year were sensational.
Absolutely.
I think the top 5 guys that came out this year all have potential to be very, very good. And like even somewhere like we mentioned Trey Lance earlier, but I do legitimately believe they'll start with Garoppolo, and that is the intention, is to bring him in slowly. But I also think there'll be a Trey Lance package. I also think that we're going to have some fun with Kyle Shanahan and what that offense can do and the designs they're going to do. And, if Chicago were a better coach team, I'd be excited about what they can do as well.
those fans in Chicago aren't going to sit patient watching with Justin Fields on the sideline, and I just think that's going to happen real soon.
What do we think? What do you think, Coach? Week 2?
I would say week 2. I would say, or maybe halfway through week 1 if the Red Rifle's not getting it done. Hey, we got Owen Thomas from Mumbles, Wales. Has this question: what is your go-to whiskey, Will?
Do you know why that is? I know this is Coffee with Coach. I thought I would treat myself, as we're just out from the season. I'm having myself a little old-fashioned. It is with a Jura whiskey, just so Owen knows. That's what I've opted for today. It's mainly because we did a big cookout this weekend. The draft I do with a bunch of guys when we first started our podcast way back in the day, even pre-Gridiron, and we had a small fan base, a few hundred people that listened every week and really kind of got into the fact that it was essentially just two guys they were chatting about football in the pub and really enjoying themselves doing it and somehow getting these amazing guests on because you just reach out and randomly, Morton Anson will just go, yeah, I'll come on your show for an hour. You're like, really? There's only been 300 people listening, but yeah, great. That'd be all for it, mate. So we started a fantasy league and ran a little competition for those guys to join it. And the same 12 guys that we played with that first season, we still play a league with now.
Wow.
And this year, and we've become really close friends. You must know Rich Wyatt, who does some work with the NFL and does so he's one of the guys. And there's a few of the guys, you'd know them from the super fans on Twitter and stuff like that. And this weekend, I've got a new smoker. We made a 10-hour brisket overnight on Friday night. We got our drink on. And so the reason I'm having that whiskey is because that was brought to me as a gift this Saturday. And yeah, we had a big old barbecue and a cookout and did our fantasy draft. That's my cat that is attempting to attack the camera. And I apologize for that. Getting all up onto the table. Get down. There we go.
Hey, let's talk another situation where I think there's an outstanding coach, and I think it is off season. Now, he lost an outstanding coach on his staff, but Sean McVay, I have tremendous respect for, and I think he wrung about as much out of Jared Goff as you could wring out of a quarterback. And now he's got a guy who I think can be that guy that is the missing link in that Rams offense. I really think that Matthew Stafford can be a catalyst for the Rams to get back to the Super Bowl.
I have them winning that division. I've struggled with my Super Bowl picks in a big way this year, but the Rams are definitely up there for me because they return. It's going to be interesting to see with Brandon Staley going. Can that defense play up to the same level? Is it based on the stars? Is it based on Aaron Donald? Is it based on Jalen Ramsey? Are they the reason it ticks, or was it brilliant scheming last year? Which I think it very evidently was. They were brilliantly coached for a young man, and he goes and gets himself a head coaching job across town. But I think they win that division, and I think Matthew Stafford. I'm a huge Matthew Stafford fan, and I think he's tough as nails. He can do more outside the pocket than people, I think, realize. He's got a great arm. And I know that coaches, again, I heard Alex Mason talking about this earlier. Everyone thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl at this time of year. But when you hear Sean McVay talking about working with Matthew Stafford and the rest of his offensive staff there, and you compare it with hearing the way that they talked about Jared Goff or any other player at any other point, it's like a kid at Christmas. You can hear the smile on his face. He is genuinely excited about what they can achieve this year. And, as you know, it's very, very difficult to get to the big game. And it's very little has to go wrong for it to all collapse like a flan in a cupboard. But they've clearly gone, right, we have auctioned off our entire future on bringing in these guys, bringing in guys like Jalen Ramsey and bringing in, wide receivers with first round picks. We're bringing in. And so we need to now say to ourselves, right, what is missing? It's the quarterback that's missing. Let's go properly Vegas style. It's all in
the middle of the table, baby.
Bust.
Absolutely.
And, if they don't go to the Super Bowl this year, there's a lot of people there who could be in trouble. I think Les Snead could be in a lot of trouble, but I think that they've got as good a chance as they've had any year other than the year they did go. And I don't think that many people fancied them to go all the way that year. They liked them as a dark horse, but man, they were even better than we expected. So I think as long as that hype doesn't catch up with them and Matt Stafford stays healthy, which he's proven to do over his career, I'd buy them. I really do. Shouldn't say that. Division rival, but...
Well, my man, we only got a couple more days to wait. It has been absolutely fantastic having you on the show. We got to do this again periodically through the course of the season, because obviously I love chopping it up with you every time we get on each, whether it's on me on Talk Sport or you here with us, and it's awesome to have you on the show, Will.
I will anytime, Coach. I say anytime. You asked me to come on last week and I said no, but I was genuinely away last week, so that's not. I can't take the blame for that. But yeah, genuinely anytime. We're into the NFL season now. It's not 22 weeks anymore, is it? 24 weeks? Is that what it is now with the extra stuff? The next 24 weeks of my life are dedicated to one thing, and so yeah. Anytime you need me, Coach, I will be here in a heartbeat.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. That's Will Gavin from Talk Sport. And again, Gridiron Magazine. He is a very, very knowledgeable football guy and a great fan, a great personal friend. So again, if you get a chance, check him out on all the social media platforms. Michael, what a show, man. 56 minutes of real football. It was awesome. You got any? Did we get any call in today? Did we get any shots? Did we get any questions from around the world?
We've got a few. Just while I look for them, I'm just going to put the Sky games up again.
Right.
Some nice games. Obviously, Sunday Night Football is going to be there, but that Browns Chiefs game, Steelers Bill game, really excited for them at the weekend, Jeff.
Put that back up. And let's see what you taking, the Cowboys or you taking the Bucks?
I'm taking the Bucks, but I think it'll be closer than people think. I think I'm actually going to give away my show tomorrow night. I'll go for it. Okay. I'll take the Bucks. I think the Bucks will win, not too comfortably. I think Dak Prescott will want to come out first weekend and try and show people that he's over this injury. I think that Dallas will score over 20 points in Tampa Bay. A lot of people think that the Cowboys are really not going to score much, but I'll take the Bucks.
We'll see about that. Now, I'll tell you, the Steelers at the Bills. Now, Pittsburgh is about 3 hours from Buffalo. There'll be a huge contingent of yellow flags, yellow handkerchiefs in that crowd. But I really believe that this Bills team is for real. I think the Steelers have got some questions along that offensive line. I talked to the offensive line coach the other day, and he's encouraged with some young players that they have, but they've got a ways to go before they're going to solidify that offense. Harris, I think, can help them, but it's going to come down to whether they can score enough points, because they are going to play good defense. So that's going to be a great football game. What about the Browns and Chiefs? You take the Browns and Chiefs, and then I'll talk about the Bears and the Rams.
Well, who's going to win the Bills game? The Bills, yeah.
I'm taking the Bills. Yep.
Okay. This Browns Chiefs game is fascinating, Jack. Just this is a talk now. Like over here in Ireland, it's the All-Ireland final on Saturday, and one of the counties playing is Mayo, and they haven't won the trophy in 70 years, and apparently they're cursed. They're not going to win it this weekend because they're playing my county. But I'm looking at a team like the Browns that have had such I guess lack of luck over the years. Is this the year that they finally get over the line? I think it would be a hell of a start to the season, Jeff, if Baker Mayfield went into Arrowhead and done what he couldn't do last year, and that's beat the Chiefs. I've got the Browns winning by a field goal on Sunday, Jeff. There you go. There's my big call of the week.
You're calling the Browns over the Chiefs, and I'm going to tell you no. You made that. You said if. There were a lot of ifs in there. Well, let me tell you this: if Grandpa wore a brassiere, he'd be Grandma. So let me just say that ain't happening. I think that the Bears are going to get pasted in LA. I really think that. I think the Rams are.
You think don't stay up, Jeff?
I really think they're going to be a good football team, and I think that the Bears. I really believe before the end of that game, we'll see. We'll see Justin Fields in there, and I really think that the Bears, there is no way that you can say that the Red Rifle is going to be the guy that's going to take you to the playoffs. And I'm not anti Andy Dalton. I'm just telling you, he's not good enough at this stage in his career with what's around him. They need the athleticism. They need the dynamic feet that quarterback, they're going to struggle to protect the passer anyway. And that, Fields is a guy that can get out of trouble and can get you, extend plays and make plays, off script. And I think the Bears are going to need that. And I think you'll see him real soon.
I'll take the Ravens on Monday night, but I know you're a busy man, and I know you have to go very soon. Let's very quickly do this. Who's going to win it all in LA in February, Jeff?
I'm going to tell you something. I think, and I may said the same thing. I think right now you got to look at the teams. I think you got to look at the teams that have the best rosters and have most success and the best quarterback. And I look at Kansas City and I look at Tampa Bay as being right back in there. But I could see the Rams, I could see the Patriots, I could see a number of teams that I think could make a run at it. Fred Flunk are one of the most loyal guys in the tribe, and he's with us every week from Dublin. He says, "So what's up, tribe? We got some football incoming in 2 days." Yes, we do. O'Toole Marion, is this the most open season in a while, Coach? I think Marion's really right, and I think Marion's Irish
She's
fan
from Ireland,
too.
and she said up Mayo. No, not up Mayo. Jeff, the Rams are winning the Super Bowl. It's going to put it out there now. The Rams, it would be incredible for a team to win it 2 years in a row in their home stadium.
I want everybody in the tribe to put that down right now. Write it somewhere that Magic Mike said Rams will win Super Bowl. And so if it happens, you can be, you're the next Nostradamus. But if it doesn't happen, then you're gonna have to live with that selection.
I would love to see Rams build. I think that would be.
I think it would be a fantastic Super Bowl. Really, really, it'd be great for both fan bases who, for a long time, have been waiting a long, long time to get to the Super Bowl. So
that's Friday, Jeff. Well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We got to go back up to Toronto, play our arch rival again for the second time in 5 days, and it's an old tradition here in the CFL where you have Labor Day game and then come back and play on the next Friday. So then we have Calgary and then a bye week. So it's going to be an interesting September. But we're in first place right now and trending in the right direction. So we're trying to keep it going.
It's hard to believe we are 2 days out. It seems like it was all over just a few weeks ago, and here we are. But yeah, Jeff, I mean, we'll do this again next Tuesday, and I mean, it was a great show tonight to hear from Alex and Will as well.
All right, look forward to it, Michael. Take care, and all the tribe out there, follow the show, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and make sure you catch your Irish NFL guys too, because they are outstanding. So this has been our show for tonight. Say aloha.
Aloha. See you guys later.